Hi, I'm Dr. Jeremy Tilawen, and I am really excited that you could join us for part 2 of this segment. In the first video, we discussed about how to get along well with your family on holidays and other important family gatherings. But before we get started discussing about solution, I'd like for you to see if you can be able to go back first of all and watch the first video. Click right here. You see this link over here, and go back to the first video on why family members find it very difficult to get along when they come together during family gatherings and other family functions out there. Once you've watched that one, then come back to this video, and now you have a complete picture of, number one, why it's difficult to get along well, and then what do you do about it. In part 2 of this video, we'll be discussing skills on how to get along well with your family. These are skills that you can use when you are coming together with family for celebration, reunions, holidays, any other important places where family come together. These are 7 skills that you should know in order for you to have a better relationship. But before we continue, I'd like for you to consider subscribing to this channel. And subscribing to it is very easy. Just click on the red button under this video that says subscribe, and you're done. You can also like the video if you find this content useful to you. In the first installment, we discussed all reasons why people do not get along well with their family members. And you are like, okay, that's nice that you discuss all those reasons, but what are the solutions? Well, I'm glad that you asked, okay, because I do have some solutions, okay. So the first has a lot to do with personal questions. I don't know what is up with most families. Whenever families come together, it's almost like an opportunity to ask very personal, embarrassing questions to family members and expect them to answer in front of everybody. They'll ask you things like, so are you married yet? And when are we going to have the grandkids? Okay? Dogs are not grandkids. No matter how much you dress them, we want grandkids. And are you still with that woman? Are you still with that guy that you met online? And I see that your weight hasn't worked well for you. Oh, what about that boyfriend that you met online that turned out to be a criminal? Did I hear properly? Did I hear correctly? And then they look at you like, are you going to answer or not? And you're like, okay, I guess. So you know that these questions are going to be coming around because the usual suspects always ask those questions all the time. You probably have already been asked these questions in other occasions where family came together, right? By the usual suspect. So have ready-made answers to these questions, and just so tell them, hey, listen, I am not ready to settle down because either I want to travel, I want to study, I want to start that new business. There's a lot of things that I would like to accomplish before I date or marry somebody or have children or have grandkids. The dog will do for now. Number 2 is you don't have to answer these questions. You don't. Okay? You can just decide to be assertive and to have boundaries with family. And you can just say, listen, I do not feel like I need to answer these questions, or I have no comment about that, okay? If you really have to talk to somebody, you can take somebody on the side and say, you know what, I didn't want to answer those questions, but here's what it is. But it is still your choice not to answer personal questions when family throw those at you. They have people sometimes who feels, okay, I'm not going to answer those questions. But then all of a sudden on the side, they feel guilt, like, okay, what kind of family member am I now that I can't even, have a conversation about my life with family. And so you're feeling like you always have to go out there and say everything what's going on with you. You don't. Because if you were to turn around that same talk and ask, your uncle or your aunt or your sister, hey, tell me more about your husband. I hear he's been drinking a lot lately. Or tell me about your boyfriend. Or I hear, he's back smoking weed again. They will not be happy, but they have no problem asking you personal questions, but they will get mad at you if you ask them personal questions. So what does that say? That you should have your own boundaries too. Not to answer these questions and say, I do not want to answer those questions. Okay? That is still your choice. The third is forgiveness. Forgiveness is very important in helping you get along well with family. Because if there are feuds that have happened in the past, somebody's not happy about it, an inheritance that went wrong, a conflict last Christmas, a childhood issue that has lingered on for a long time. But what can free you up from all this is forgiveness, letting go of the past. It doesn't say that you're saying that what they did was okay. No, it's just saying that I refuse to continue hating, to continue being angry and wishing them all bad things. The fourth issue that we discussed was about grief. If you're still struggling with grief related to a family member who's passed on, it is upon you, it is your responsibility to start to work towards acceptance. Because there are people, who are still on that denial phase of grief, and there are people who are already on the acceptance part of that. If you're on acceptance, you're much more likely to move on. Now, if you're still on the side of denial, where you're still angry, you're still feeling some guilt, anxiety, all these things that have bothered you about either your mom, your dad, your uncle, your cousin, being dead, it's upon you to work on the grieving process so that you don't get stagnated in those stages of grief and work towards acceptance so that you're more available to enjoy family time instead of always having to reflect on family in a very negative way. Your reflection after you get to acceptance should be something like, wow, I'm glad that was my dad. I'm glad that was my mom, because look at who I am today because of this person. As opposed to, I am angry, I am sad that they're gone, and I can't believe, when you're there, it takes a lot of energy to be able to do that. So it's upon you. You're not responsible for the grief, but you're now responsible on getting yourself out of that funk that you've been for a long time, because it comes with really attitude problems where you're always just angry, not participating fully with family because you're always grieving. So the fifth step that you should take is to avoid controversial topics by any means necessary. Because if you bring up controversial topics, it's a sure way to get people fired up, to get people angry. So avoid controversial topics, because there is no safe controversial topic. So if you decide, okay, I'm going to bring up religion, there's going to be somebody who's going to have a different religion or a different way, the way they interpret religion in your family. And so there is no safe controversial topic. So avoid those at any cost. Because if you bring them up, but let's take, for example, something like abortion. You bring up abortion and you say, oh, we all agree. And you may all agree, yeah, abortion, we're all, conservative. And abortion is a bad thing and is so against God and all, the whole 9 yards. But somebody may say, hey, by the way, I agree with you, but what if the mother's life is in danger, or, incest or rape and all that? I think the mother should not have to live with that and should get rid of that pregnancy. Then all of a sudden, you find yourself arguing. It's not worth it. The sixth step that you should take in order for you to get along well with your family on holidays, celebrations, gatherings, is to come up with an exit strategy. What do I mean by this? An exit strategy is when you get to a family gathering, you tell them ahead of time what you're going to be doing later on. For example, you can say something like, hey, in about an hour or 2 hours, I'll be going to a neighbor's celebration that invited us for Christmas, or a coworker that invited us for Thanksgiving, or my coworker is having a baby shower that we've been invited to. That way, they already know later on when you say you gotta go, they already know that, hey, by the way, it's, he had already told us, or she had already told us she was going to be leaving, and it has nothing to do with what is going on. This is necessary because when Uncle Joe from Texas starts to get drunk and bring up religion and bring up abortion and all that, then you can just get out of there. Well, before we continue, let me just apologize to Uncle Joe's out there in the world. I don't mean anything, so don't send me some hate mail. I'm sure you're a real nice guy and outstanding. You don't beat up anybody. You don't yell at anybody. So yeah, my apologies. So yeah, we're good? Good? Yep. Okay. So when he brings up those topics of controversial topics, you can say, I gotta go. I will see you later. See you next year. It was nice being with everybody else. Why should you get out of there instead of just engaging in that kind of talk? Is because I have never met somebody that has argued, religion, the right to die, abortion, all those controversial topics, and somebody else has ever changed their mind. No, because when you argue those topics, somebody feels like you're trying to wrestle their values away from them, or you're invalidating their values. I have never met somebody that says, hey man, after arguing with me for 1 hour, I was a Catholic, now I'm Jehovah's Witness, or I'm now, I'm now a Mormon, and thanks to you, man, that argument was very convincing. No, they will more likely, tell you to take a hike because they believe very, very strongly about their values, and you're trying to invalidate them. And so there is no way you will convince somebody. So what the idea is to just not to get into those controversial topics in the first place, okay? Now, the 7th step is one of the most important steps of all, which is taking personal responsibility for yourself. Okay? Because up until now, you're wondering, okay, why are you telling me to take responsibility for myself? Why can't you tell Uncle Joe to stop drinking? Why can't you tell my brother Brian to stop bringing up controversial topics? Why don't you tell my cousins to stop feuding? So if you're saying that I have to tell family members to stop their ways so that we can get along well, is that you're saying that you have control of those family members. And let me tell you this, you do not have control over anybody. You have control of yourself. You have no control over anybody else. So you take personal control of yourself and do not always want other people to change. You have to take control of yourself because you always believe that these people are doing this to you and all that. Sometimes they just, this is how they would act normally outside of the family gatherings. This is how they would act at a grocery store. Anywhere in line, when they are here, you're thinking, well, this is how they're acting this, they're doing this to me. No, you have responsibility for yourself to be able to act accordingly, but yourself. And you have no apologies towards anybody other than yourself. Because you're not responsible for their emotions, you're not responsible for their feelings, you're not responsible for their thoughts. You're only responsible for yourself. So take responsibility for yourself. And what does that mean? That means if you do not have to go to those family gatherings in the first place, then don't go. Nobody's forcing you. Nobody's is holding a gun to your head and telling you to go to a Christmas party or a birthday party where all family members are going to be there, and it's always nasty. The same usual suspects always brings up all kinds of controversial things and start arguing, and people start getting really in a nasty mood. You always know that. So why don't you just not go in the first place? Okay? It is within you, your power, not to go to family gatherings that make you feel dismal. Because if you go to a family gathering, and every time you leave that family gathering and they make you feel this small, they make you feel that depressed, that angry, you come back, you want to kill yourself or kill somebody, maybe you don't need to go to one of these family gatherings at all. Just stop going. And I know you're saying, oh, but this is a family, this is a family, it's a family. Yes, it's family. But if this is how you feel, then there is no use of going. So I hope all these steps that we have discussed will help you have a better relationship with your family and get along well during family gatherings, holidays, vacations, and all other times when you have to be around family. Please consider subscribing and also liking this video. It's very important for you to subscribe because it will be very easy for you to find your way back here to this channel, because there's so many videos out there, so many channels out there. But when you subscribe, you will be connected, and we can discuss more videos that are relevant to you. So I will have many exciting topics coming up generally in just mental health and also relationship. We'll be discussing about forgiveness, anger management, how to heal from past relationships that have been abusive, how to deal with people who are emotionally unavailable. And for the new year, how to just set realistic goals by breaking them down into manageable steps and achieving them. So as you can see, there's so many exciting topics, and you wouldn't want to miss those topics. Now, if you have other topics that you would like for me to discuss, please leave the comments at the bottom of this video, and I will do my best to try to discuss them with you. So this is Dr. Tilawen signing off, wishing you blessings of today and possibilities of tomorrow. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Come back.